Okay, I'm back. So I did a little bit of stitching. Not a ton. Well, I did a lot. It just doesn't look like a lot. So I did some seed stitching up here. I stitched the leaves, just like sort of a spine on the leaves. I went ahead and stitched a couple of those down. I think that's all I'll use. And I stitched this down, this little piece of tatting. I stitched down the ruler, and then, okay, I did stitch down these big flowers, the dragonfly, and then I did a little stitching on this apple or fruit, whatever it is, just to make it pop a little. And then I did these flowers, and as you can see, I'm starting a third one, and I thought I would just jump on here and show you how to do them. I don't remember what they're called, but they're basically another thing you can do with bullion stitch. It's turning out to be a very versatile stitch, at least for me. I really like doing it now. At first I was totally baffled by it, but now I really like playing with it. So, okay, so the first thing you do is make a circle so that you have an outline to stitch around. So I just did back stitch, drew a circle and then stitched back stitch on it. So then I am going up on the edge of the circle, and I'm going to do a bullion stitch. Oh, but look, my thread is all wacko on the back. Let's try and undo that. Okay, there we go. And I do have a milliner's needle. This makes a huge difference when you're doing the bullion stitch, because you have basically no widening of the needle where the eye is. It's a small eye, and it's just the same width as the rest of the needle, and that is key for being able to pull your stitches off of the needle once you've wrapped it when you're doing the bullion stitch. Seriously, I've done it both ways, and even just a little bit of a ridge. Let's see if I can find one I was using. No, of course not. Yeah, even just a little bit of a ridge where the eye is makes a big difference, unless you're just going to do totally loose bullion stitches, then it probably doesn't matter so much, but I am doing tight ones, so it does matter. Okay, so get in frame here. Okay, so let's see. If you look at these, you can tell how wide of a stitch I'm taking. Not very wide. That means just like from there to there. Am I in frame? There we go. Okay, there to there. That's how wide my stitch is. So let's try and make one something like that. So we go back in, but not all the way in, and then we go back out where we started. Hopefully you're not splitting the thread. I am working with DMC 6-strand thread, and I've got 3 strands. Okay, let's try that again. Trying to stay in frame. Okay. I'll push that over so I don't split it. Okay, that's close enough. It doesn't have to be exactly where the other thread is. Okay, so I'm going to push it to about right there and leave it. And then, I'm sorry if you're not left-handed, but tough cookies. I have to watch everybody else right-handed, so I am left-handed, so sorry. But it shouldn't be that hard to figure it out. That's what everybody tells me when they're doing it right-handed. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap it around. I don't think it matters what direction you're going. It probably helps to do the same direction each time. I don't know. I'm not even counting. I'm just gonna stack it up a little more. Yeah, that's probably good. Okay. So then I hold the needle, hold the stitches on the needle. Now I'm gonna forget how I do this because I'm slowing down too much. And pull the needle through. Come on. Okay, now it's not cooperating. Push the stitches down. Oh, it is through. Okay. Okay, so now I want to get these stitches off the needle, so I push them down, pull the needle out. Can you see me? Sorry. Okay, I'll do better next time. So I've got the stitches off the needle, and I'm just going to pull the thread through. My thumb is holding the wraps. Okay. And then I can let go and see, do I need to keep pulling it? Probably a little bit. It does help if it's messy to just kind of, you can spread them out a little and then push them back and pull until it's neatened up. Now see, there you go. See, there's a lot more wraps on there than I needed to go across the length of that stitch, and that's what's going to make the petal, is it's going to squish together the wraps and stick out. So get the other end here with the needle, and then we're going to go back in and finish the stitch back on this side. This is where we started it. This is where we went back through out to this side, wrapped it on this side, pulled that through, and now we're going to go back into this side to finish the stitch. I hope that made sense. If not, I am going to do all the petals. So hopefully by the time I get all the way around, it will be clear as not mud. Okay. There. Whee! We got our first petal. Isn't that exciting? There it is. It looks great. Okay, so then we're going to go I'm going to go clockwise. So I'm going to come out over here and a little farther over. Okay, I'm going to come out over here, and that way when I go back through from this side to that side, the side I'm wrapping on is not going to be bumping up against these stitches that I've already made. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so pull this all the way through. Make sure there's no knots. I know it looks like a mess, but that's from is that from a previous flower, or is that this flower? I think it's from previous stitches when I was doing the back stitch. Anyway, ignore that, it's the back, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're gonna go back. Where am I? There we go. Okay, so now we're gonna go from this side of the stitch over to where it came through. Okay. Can you see that? Okay. So we push it mostly through, but not all the way, so that we have plenty of room to wrap the needle. So this time I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I'll just push those down. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I think that's about how many I did. Oh, maybe a few more. 18, 19, 20. Okay. Now, let's see if I remember how I did this. So, I hold the wraps on the needle while I am pulling the needle through, and it's kind of a push-pull. Push the wraps down, pull the needle up a little bit, push them down, pull the needle. There, the needle is through. So now I can see the wraps are still on there. So now I'm going to hold my thumb and finger down here to push the wraps all the way off the needle while I pull the needle up with this hand. There we go. And that's what it looks like. Okay. And see, it looks a little messy before you finish the stitch, but it's fine. Just push them back down. That looks pretty neat. Neat as in tidy. Okay, so I can go ahead and finish this stitch by putting the needle back in this side. The side that's closest to the other stitch, the previous stitch. Okay, goes back down, pull it all the way through, and we've got 2 petals. And that one's being wonky. Huh, I wonder why. Okay, that one's a little bigger than the previous one. That's okay. Hey, nature is not perfect either. Okay, so let's continue. Kind of wadding this up so I can reach it all. Alright, so we start away from the previous stitches. There we go, that looks like a good spot. So pull that all the way through. Is that all the way? Yeah, okay. And then back in next to the last stitch and push it out where you started your stitch. Oh, I think I need to go back a little farther. Okay. There we go. Push it most of the way through and then wrap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, I think I'll leave it there, as in not do any more wraps. Pull, push, pull. Okay. Pull the needle all the way through the wraps. And there we've got another petal. Okay. And then we finish the stitch by going back down where it's next to the previous stitch. Okay. So now we've got 3 petals, and you can kind of smoosh them around, you know, to get the shape that you want. There, that looks good. Alright, now I noticed that my thread is getting shorter. Did I lose a strand? No, it's still that previous stitch. Okay, my thread is getting short. I may have enough to do one more stitch. We'll see. But if I don't, I'll pull it back out, because if you don't have enough thread, it's a real pain to try doing it with just barely enough thread. It's not like this is super expensive thread either, so I can afford to, you know, a little wastage. Sometimes you have to do that. Okay, find a good spot here. That looks good. Okay. And then go back next to the previous stitch. Come on. There we go. And come back out at this end. Good. Now one thing I can do is not push the needle up so far, so I don't have as far to go to wrap it. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Eight, 9. Yeah, this is getting difficult. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-ish. I might have dropped one stitch, or wrap, I should say. Oh, and look. Have I pulled my thread out of my needle? Yes, I have. Okay, that tells me the thread is not long enough anymore, so I'm going to take the wrap off, take the needle out. Can I find this stitch? This is going to be hard. Nope, that's not it. Okay. What I'm trying to do is just pull this stitch back so that the thread is on the back, and then I can tie it off and get new thread. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I tied off that thread and now I have a new length of it, and just so you know, when it was too short it was about 6 inches, so you do need a good length of thread to work with on this stitch. Okay, oh, that's going through, there we go. Okay. Alright, so we come up away from the stitch we previously did, then we go back down, or I should say maybe across, but we point the needle down next to the previous stitch, and then without going all the way through, we're going to come back up next to the other end of the stitch. Try and move the thread out of the way to see where it's coming up. That's a little far. That's better. This is kind of a tiny one. See that? Okay. It's hard to remember to keep looking to make sure I'm still in frame. Okay, so I'm going to push my needle most of the way through and then start wrapping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Push it down. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Whoops. I got the other end of the thread. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay. That should be plenty for that little stitch. So I'm going to pull the needle, push the wraps down. Pull the needle, push the wraps down. And I've got the needle all the way through the fabric. Yeah. There we go. Okay. It's all the way through, then I can just hold onto the wraps and pull my needle through the wraps. There we go. Okay. Let's see that. Looks like it needs a little more scooching down. So I hold the wraps down and then pull this taut. Okay. I think we're ready to finish the stitch over next to the previous stitch. See, we go back down right there. There we go. Okay. And we try not to get wrapped around the other fabric elements next door. Dang it. Get off me. Oh my god. Wait, is it stuck on there? Okay. There. Okay. So, yeah, that looks good. Those are looking good. And see, after we finish all these petals, then I do like a satin stitch on the middle, which is not hard. Okay, let's do another petal. So away from the previous stitch. Actually, I probably don't need this right now. That's more for pulling through stitches that are hard to pull through the fabric. Okay. So go back down through the fabric next to the previous stitch and come up at the beginning of the stitch where the thread is coming out. Oops. Come on, you. Oh, that looks like I went right through the thread. Don't want to do that. Okay, I think that's good. Push it most of the way through. And then start wrapping. And you wrap, this was another confusion I had. So you've got kind of two ends of thread here. You've got the one that's going through the eye, and then the one that's where the stitch started, basically, coming out of the fabric. This is the one that you wrap around the needle. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Push it down. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Push it down. Okay. Then I'm going to hold the needle, pull it a little, push the wraps down. Pull the needle out. There it came through. Okay. Now I'm going to push the wraps down and pull the needle all the way through the wraps. Okay. See that? There. That's what it looks like. It's a little loose, so we'll push it down again. Okay. And then we can finish the stitch by going back down next to the previous stitch. And that's where I finished the last thread, was at that point, the end of the stitch. Then you can just tie it off and start a new piece of thread when you need to. Okay. I've just got a few more to do here, and we should have it all the way around. So come up away from the previous stitch. I got it in frame. There, okay. This is harder than it looks, you guys, because I have to keep looking up, standing up, looking at my phone, and then looking down at the fabric, and then looking at my phone, and then forgetting to look at my phone. Okay, back down next to the previous stitch. And then come back up next to the thread where the beginning of the stitch started. There we go. Okay, push it most of the way through and then start wrapping. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay. That's plenty. Yeah. Okay. So hold on to the wraps, pull the needle up, and then I'm holding it down here, push the wraps down. Pull the needle up, push the wraps down, and then pull the needle all the way through the wraps. Okay. And I'll push these down again. Alright. Finish the stitch by going down next to the previous stitch. See that? Yeah, okay. There we go. There's that one petal I made a little short and it looks kind of squished between the other petals. It's okay though, it has personality. Okay, I think we've got 3 more petals, I'm gonna guess. Okay, so we come up away from the previous stitch, pull it all the way through. Ooh, this is looking short. I'm gonna guess I can get 1 more out of this. Then go back down next to the previous stitch, come back up next to the thread, or the other end of the stitch. You see that? Yeah, okay. Alright, only gonna go halfway out. And then I'm going to hold my thumb on the eye so that I don't let the thread slip out while I'm wrapping. Hopefully that will work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Ooh, this is going to be tricky. Now I'm trying to hold these down, keep them from unwrapping. 14, 15, 16, and 17. Okay. Push down. Still have not unthreaded my needle. That's good. Okay, push the needle up, push the wraps down. Needle up, wraps down. Needle up, wraps down. Awesome. That was a tricky one. Okay, yeah, that looks messy. Let's try and neaten this up a bit. So all you have to do to neaten it up is just kind of keep pushing it down, pushing the wraps down, and then pulling the thread up until it looks better. Okay, so then I kind of spread these out a little, see how they look a little better. Okay, I'm going to push them down again. I think that's fine. And we can finish the stitch and hopefully have enough to tie off on the back. Yeah. Okay. for a half a knot. Okay, there we go. I need some more. So I hope this is helpful. Let me know in the comments. You can also tell me how terrible or good I'm doing at keeping in frame. I'm trying. I'm learning still. And I gotta work with what equipment I have, which is not super fancy. But I do have this cool light, which hopefully is not going to turn off on me. I should probably turn it down. Here. Okay. Yes, 2 petals left. Okay, so come up about halfway between the open spot. Alright, so we pull that all the way up and we go back down next to the previous stitch. And that's too far out. Okay, let me try again. What is this? It's like, okay. That was a thread from the tail coming through to the front. I hate that. Okay. Go down next to the previous stitch and then come out next to the other end of the stitch where the thread is coming out. Okay, is that close enough? Yes, okay. So then we push the needle through most of the way because we have lots of thread. And hold it and wrap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay. Then hold the wraps, pull the needle up, push the wraps down. Pull the needle up, push the wraps down. There we go, the needle is through. So now I'm going to pull it all the way through. Pull all the thread through the wraps. Oops. And then drop it. Okay, that's a little twisty. Push that back down. That's looking good. Yeah. Okay. Finish the stitch by going back down next to the previous stitch. Yeah. See where the thread is coming out? Yes. Pull the thread all the way through. And then boop! Bob's your uncle. And you have another petal. Yay! Only got one left. So this one is a little messier because it is next to stitches on both sides, but you know, you do the best you can. This looks like it's going to be a small stitch. Yeah. Maybe I should have made the other one a little smaller. That's okay. Like I said, they don't all have to be the same size. That is not what nature looks like either. I think it gives them a little more personality if they look different from each other, you know. And it's just a little bit different. I mean, they're tiny petals. You're the only one that's going to be looking this close and going, these are not the same size. Okay. So wrap it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Push them down. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Alright. Now we make sure we're in frame. Yes, okay. Pull the needle or push the needle. Push the wraps down. Pull the needle up. Push the wraps down. The needle is through, so pull the thread with the needle all the way through the wraps until you can't pull no more. And there's your last petal. Sorry, I'm flipping it around. Okay. This is a little twisted, so you will just push it back down. There we go. Kind of shape it a little. And then put the needle back next to the previous stitch to finish off your petal. And voila, we have a flower. Now we just need to fill in the middle with whatever you want. You know, you don't have to do satin stitch, you could do French knots, whatever you want. You could put a button in the middle, that would be fun. Okay, so I think that's going to be it for now. I'm sure I'll find some other flowers to do and maybe show you how to do those too. Alright, well thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next video.